Ryan, how are we doing?
Keeping well, keeping well. How are you keeping?
Good, yeah, all good, all good. It's a bank holiday week. It's midterm week. There's an awful lot of people off work. I don't know about you. I'm kind of finding it hard to get any work done this week.
I tell you, but that's what I'm saying. I was wondering to myself why I felt so lazy and unmotivated.
I
And you mentioned that can be contagious. So
think it is.
I'm gonna rob that excuse. Yeah, that's my excuse for the week.
It's in the air. It's in the air. There's not a whole lot of work going on this week by the looks of it. So that's my excuse anyway.
That's it. That's it. So how did your week go?
Good, yeah, it was good. Didn't get away now. Didn't get away as I thought we might, but been kind of haven't been overdoing it either. So have been catching up a bit on R&R. So that was one of my. So what I had down for last week was a bit of R&R, which I did. I'd say I took care of that by about a quarter. Right, so I'll give myself 0.25 for that out of one. Insurance decision for Parkit. Got that. Have that. Inception date is in place for the insurance. And the launch, I had them to smash the launch of my course, so relaunch. And the launch itself went really, really well. Just need to do a few bits of tidy up around it as well this week in the coming week. So I don't know. I'd say you're talking about a two out of three, I'd say in total there.
2 out of 3, nice. And it seems to be a trend. We were talking about
Yeah.
that. I don't think any of us have ever had a 3 out of 3 yet, which is interesting in itself. But I'm the same this week. 2 out of 3. So the big one are two. I got me 2 core ones done. So my manifesting course, the one I'm doing with Daniela Miles, we launched that last night. Very successful. It went really well last night. We got loads of people on board for the course. So that was actually a really big success. Delighted by how that went. So that was nailed. Obviously, we have another 2 weeks of that as well. But we've gotten the market and everything over the line. So that was brilliant. And the workbook, I was creating a workbook for it's a course, a corporate course I'm developing. It's kind of my seminal course. It's based on my program for life and the tools about limiting beliefs and the tools that have helped me in my life. So I was creating a workbook around that, got that ticked off yesterday, which was great, over the line. And then the other one, which I didn't get over the line, is around this grant proposal that I'm trying to do around my business plan, grant proposal. It's a monster of a task. Maybe I'm procrastinating on it in the background. Maybe there's something going on there. I was planning to get 20% of that done. I didn't get near it. I didn't actually get near it. So that's sort of on the list for next week. So again, 2 out of 3, not too bad, considering it was a busy week and contagious laziness is hanging in. I'm gonna own that.
And tell me, so the course that you launched last night with Daniela, did you notice any kind of trends around the people buying that? Did people leave it late to sign up, or was there any pattern there?
It's interesting that you say that. So I would say I don't want to go into particular numbers or anything like that, but I would say there was an awful lot, maybe 40% of the sales happened in the last day. Now, myself and Daniela done an Instagram live on Monday night, and then we had Sheila Show again, I love Sheila. Sheila's a friend of mine. I was on her podcast. She's amazing. So she put up on social media as well as an affiliate. So we got a few sales over the line from that, and Katrina Kelly doing that as well. She's another influencer on Instagram as well. So we got a lot of sales from that late on. But there just happened to be a burst of sales late on, just organically that happened as well. Maybe coming from the Instagram live. So I do think people sort of leave it late as well. It was just a lot of sales that happened late, and we had a good few at the very start as well. So it was interesting to watch how it's going. And we're talking tonight about building our audience. That's the key focus of today's talk. And I can bring that on board as well, because one of the things that I want to chat about is this idea with digital marketing. It's you can pay for it to build your audience, you can earn it, or you can pay it, earn, and owned. And there was a mix of all of that to get people on board. So it was an interesting an interesting project. Yeah,
that's good to know, because for my own relaunch, like I've opened that for 7 days. That's a hard stop middle of next week kind of thing.
Yeah,
so that's interesting to know that you had a lot in the last day or so. Yeah, people seem to just leave. They want to sign up, but they say, okay, I have X amount of time, so I'll kind of leave it to the last minute. Like I do the same myself with most things. So it's just it's human nature, really, isn't it?
It's human nature, and that's what they say, isn't it, in marketing arena? Like you need 7 times, like it's in your awareness, and you consider it, but it takes on average 7 times to see it before you actually make the purchase.
Right.
So it's interesting that we put a bit of. I don't usually put a lot of marketing in at the very end. Sometimes I even nearly think I'm just annoying people.
I know it feels like that, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. But this was a big lesson for me this time, right? I just had to get it out there because there seemed to be a lot of sales came from that. And the Instagram live was a really good one. And like if you haven't got a following on Instagram for other people listening to this, you could obviously just do a Zoom thing. You could have just done a link or an event to talk about it. I remember I read a book. I'm actually the name of the book has gone out of my head, but it's talking about like pitching an idea, a sales deck of how to sell something that you're trying to or how to get across something that you're trying to sell. And I've done that with another course in the past, very similar to the Instagram live, just giving people a sneak preview into it as well. And it can just get people over the line.
Yeah. Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. So today's topic, how to build an audience. And I think we go from the starting point, Brian. How did you go about building your audience from the start?
Yeah. No, it's an important one. Because I think, well, the approach I went at was rather than start selling services or products to the whole planet, I said, well, I'll go about this. I'll try and build an audience first, or a community first, actually, was my approach. So I started putting on these events, in-person events. Remember those things? I used to do those. People, even though they're free, but you had to sign up for them. So when people would register, that kind of thing. So it was a way for me I started capturing email addresses, if you like, building up numbers. People started following on social media then as well. But that's kind of how I came up with it first. Just started capturing an audience, building a community first. And only later, much later then, I started, once I had a decent sized audience, I could actually had something to sell to them. But I guess the first question to ask is, who are your audience? What is it you want to do, and what is it you want to sell? So who are the audience first? For me, it was fairly easy. So workplace well-being, products and services and courses and training programs. My target audience, the vast majority, are HR professionals. So the people within organizations that kind of control the purse strings, or manage the well-being for their colleagues, the well-being programming. So they were my target audience in the most part. There was also maybe a smaller demographic that were well-being service providers, so people that provide services to the companies then themselves. So they would have added a lot and got a lot from the community too. So that was my target audience. That was fairly simple. And then so once you know your audience, find out, well, where do they hang out? And for these guys, for HR professionals, without a doubt, it's LinkedIn. So I started by kind of making connections on LinkedIn, and it wasn't. One thing I really don't like is when you're just approaching people with, one, if it's an empty kind of connection request, but two, if you're just looking to sell them something straight away. No, I think those days are long gone, the days of the hard sell. So what I was able to do was make connection with somebody on LinkedIn, a HR professional, but offer them some value. So I'd make the connection, introduce myself very briefly, and just say, look, I'm building a community of professionals that are looking to build and sustain healthy work environments for their colleagues. Would you like to join our community, our free community, if you like, and come to our events and listen to our podcast, that kind of thing? So I was able to offer them value. More often than not, people will connect. And then I just say, look, you want to get on the list, send on your email address, and you go straight on the list. And then it's a weekly email newsletter you get. And people then can passively sign up to whatever. I try and keep it to 80%, 80, even 90% kind of free quality events, webinars, podcasts, articles. And then maybe 10% of the time I might have like a paid course or something that I'll be selling.
Do you know what I never realized with your own methods as well, Brian? It's only listening to that story right there. You really captured and nailed two core human needs, basic psychological needs that we have as really your add-on value. And the first one is, you want to join the community because we're social animals. So even though you're talking to a HR person who's representing a company, all of a sudden they want to be part of that community. It's that need to belong. You really jumped on that need to belong. That's a huge value right there. And then another element of that is like FOMO, fear of missing out. If they don't, and they're going to miss out on this community. They're going to miss out on all of the things you're giving. And I just think that's absolutely, it's a genius way to add value. Like, so you're adding value, but at the same time, you're appealing to the psychological needs of the people that if they say no, they are really missing out on value, because the value is sort of at its core. It's the psychological needs that we have. That's actually beautiful. It's no wonder you build that community so quickly, so big.
I never thought about the FOMO actually, but yeah, it's a good one. Because like all people, even if you there's plenty of people within the community who've probably never come to an event, or very rarely come to an event at least, but at least they know they've got their weekly email newsletter coming in that they can just dip in if there's anything that happens to be relevant to them in that particular week, they can sign up to it, they can go to it, they can listen to it, or they can view it. But yeah, exactly. So they never miss out. They have the comfort of having that update once a week that they choose. The power is in their hands to choose whether they opt in or they just opt out.
Yeah. And I think there's something that I've noticed in the past. I think we've chatted about this as well before, Brian. It's like on the LinkedIn community specifically, I find on Instagram, so I'd probably have a bigger following on Instagram than I would on LinkedIn. But what I find on LinkedIn is people follow you for a long time, and they might get in contact and they'd say, I was following you for a long time, love your work. You're like, wow, didn't know they were following me. Whereas it's more interactive. So you can have people as part of your group on LinkedIn and you don't even know. So interestingly, it can be hard to know that specific part of your audience there. It's hard to know who actually, what eyes are actually on you. So it's something to keep in mind as well, that more people, the eyes can be on you, they can be looking in, but you mightn't actually know about it.
Absolutely, yeah. And I have found that over time, people who I didn't even know were in the community might reach out like 2 years later with it, just when the timing is right for them. When they need something from a workplace well-being perspective, and they've been a passive follower for 2 years, I mean, who are they going to ask? And I suppose there's other companies they could reach out to, but they've been getting good quality free content from myself. So there's a very good chance that at least they'll start with me and ask me the question, where should I go for this? Where could I find out more information about X? So yeah, they're there. They might be passive, but and it's the time when the timing is right, they can reach out to you.
Yeah, definitely. It's really interesting for me to jump in there as well, but I'm thinking about knowing my audience and building my audience. I had a very, very different journey than you, but it's kind of coming full circle. And as I get to know you, I'm realizing it's not, I wouldn't say similar audiences, but I'm coming back as my brand is developing now. I'm coming back into a very similar audience that you have yourself. So I think where I started for me, I had a very generic niche, a very generic brand, changes, possible personal growth, mindset, all of these different things. That's what I was about. And as I was on LinkedIn, I was on Instagram, I built my own email list, and I was doing things that are good for personal health, that are very foundational concepts that can help people in all areas of life. But the problem I had with that in terms of building my audience, I didn't know who my audience was. And I remember people telling me, you need to know your audience. Is it people from 30 to 35, women and stuff like that? And I remember talking to Georgie and Jamie Crawford about that as well. They're phenomenal, the Good Glow podcast. And they know 95 to 97% women, 30 to 35 years of age. Something around.
Right.
Yeah, very
really specific. Yeah.
Really specific. I hadn't a clue who my audience, and as I did research on that, I was finding it's just super generic. Now, as it turned out, in the end, I'm getting closer to it. I think it's around people 30 to 45, 60% women, but it's still very broad. It's still very broad for me as well.
Yeah, well, one thing I suppose I'm lucky in a way that for the work well, the audience is quite niche. It is quite specific. Yeah. And that is lucky in a way, but it does sound like, your audience is quite broad. So I guess the question, and look, you can build a very successful business there with a broad audience.
Yeah.
And you're doing incredibly well as it is. The question is, there's a famous quote, and I've heard you say it a few times before, like the riches are in the niches.
Yeah.
How do you need to niche down? Do you feel like you need to niche down, or what's your thinking at the moment?
Yeah, it's interesting. And a big thing I'm doing at the moment now as well, I'm rebranding myself and I'm looking to where that is. And there's a couple of streams that I'm sort of going down. I'm going to do my public online courses on Instagram and stuff like that as well. But I think where my future lies, where my career really truly lies, is in the corporate environment, is developing courses, doing workshops, doing master classes around that, doing consultancy work around that as well. And it's basically then, what am I actually looking for? And I think change is going to be the overall thing. I'm going to go deep on change, tactics on change, the science of change. And then in terms of creative problem solving, performance enhancements, it's changing in the right direction as well. So I'm definitely going HR, learning and development. These are going to be the areas I'm going in. Okay. I'm going to be looking at more high level executives and their teams as well. So it's taken time, but I'm starting to forge in a direction. But another trend that we talk about on a regular basis as well is like, that's the goal, but what it will be in 2 years' time might be different. So an ability to be flexible and agile and pivot as that goes along, that's going to be key as well. So I'm just sort of seeing where it is and not making too many plans and seeing where it lands.
I think you're right. Yeah, you're right not to force it. Just take your time, listen to your audience, see where the demand is.
Yeah,
if it is in these corporate courses more than in the kind of personal self-development, then that's the path to follow. But kind of let that happen naturally over time. But you think you're going about it the right way, definitely.
Definitely. And you know what? The only person that can tell you the right thing to do is hindsight. There's no one else out there. And the more I was listening to a podcast, but then I forget his name, Randolph Murdoch or Randolph something or other. I think he's the owner of Netflix. And he was saying, you just don't know what way it's going to go. And it's only when you look back, you can actually see. So hindsight is the only thing. So you'll have to wait and see, but then try to make the best decisions along the way as best you can as you go, you know?
Absolutely, yeah. But certainly you're going about it the right way as well, okay? Because as you said, one thing we've both done from early on is captured our audience details. So we've tried to identify who our audience is, first of all. And then we've tried to, I think creating your own content then is really vital as well, whether that be podcasts, webinars, events, articles, like the LinkedIn Lives, like we're trialing here, if you like.
Yeah.
Whatever that may be, just trialing your own content, getting it out there and sharing it. And let's say what I did was with the events and then subsequently with the webinars, even though they were free, people had to sign up, they had to register with their email address. So then automatically those people go onto the mailing list for the community. They can opt out at any stage, but they get their weekly newsletter. And so they're kind of in the system, if you like. They're in the system. Then when they have another webinar, chances are they'll sign up to that again. So over time, you're building up slowly your audience over time. And when people want to drop out, they drop out. And that kind of improves the efficiency of your audience, if you like. But the people who stay with you over time, they're going to be kind of your genuine followers, your genuine audience over time. And it's fantastic. It can be a fantastic sounding board then. If you want to run a survey, if you want to ask questions about what direction to take, for example, it's powerful when you kind of, the people that follow you, if you were asking them the questions, what do we do next here, and kind of involve them in the decision making.
Yeah, definitely, 100%. And it's like, and as we were saying, it's about building an audience. That's what we're really trying to do. And whether the audience is social media, I think, what's your thoughts on that as well now, Brian? Like everything seems to be going in the direction of social media. And I think not so much social media, digital, e-commerce. I think even COVID has pushed it even more in that direction as well. And I heard of a lot of companies scrambling to build, like they were sort of behind, they weren't really ahead of the game. And now they're all scrambling to sell digitally as well. It's becoming the way to go. Absolutely,
yeah. Well, you'll need, depending on what you do, of course, but I'd be surprised if there's any companies out there that don't have a digital presence, an online presence, and an online following. And it's a great way to keep in touch with your followers, with your audience. If it's, Twitter is great for kind of customer service, to replying direct messages to people. Let's say if you're a restaurant or actually for my park kit, I haven't even mentioned that, the social enterprise is kind of outdoor exercise, promoting the importance of that. Instagram is where you want rich images, good quality video as well as out there. You're brilliant on Instagram. That's kind of a great tool for that. And then a bit more old school, maybe you've got a business profile, you could use Facebook. But if you're professional services in any way, then it's LinkedIn without a doubt is where you want to be growing. Again, you can create a business page on LinkedIn and hang a lot of stuff off that. But again, it's first of all, know your audience and where they hang out. And you don't necessarily, or you probably shouldn't be sharing the same content across each of those channels. You might have a presence in each of the channels, but depending on what it is you're sharing, you're probably maybe focusing in on one particular channel.
Definitely, I really agree with that as well. But what I'm finding as well is, so I start to have the more public thing, the earlier part of my career where I do these public courses and I create blogs and I talk about personal development stuff, and I find that's more aligned with Instagram, the Instagram following and what I do there, and then the stuff that I share on LinkedIn is sort of forging itself or in the corporate area. And I used to find it hard to pull them apart, but the more now that the business is developing, I'm seeing these are two completely distinct areas, and I'll probably end up going in one direction, like the riches are in the niches. I'll probably niche down at some stage, but it's just knowing where to go at the moment. But for anyone out there in terms of digital marketing, there was one thing that I came across. I'll give him a shout out. His name is Keane. Got to forget a second name.
Keane O'Mahony, isn't it?
No, not Keane O'Mahony.
No.
Oh my God, no, it's not Ken O'Mahony.
He's in the Frank and Walters, isn't he?
He's in the Frank and Walters, yeah. He's oh my God.
He's also the he's pretty good on his social media, isn't he? He's a digital media strategist.
Okay, I'm very, very sorry, Ken, if you're watching this. Oh my God.
I'll find him on LinkedIn here. You go ahead.
Yeah, I'll put in the comment section. Ken was brilliant helping me on with the digital marketing thing. And there's this idea known as owned, earned, or paid. So if you want to, there's three different ways. So if you own stuff like your email list, like your website, like your social media page, you own these things. And if you put content on that, you can share things from there. So that's the own section of that. Another element to build an audience is around paid. So you can pay for ads, you can pay for influencers to share your stuff. These are ways to pay to build your audience. And then the other way is earned. It's what you earn. So it's like shares on social media. It's like blog post mentions, your stuff getting shared by other people. Influencers sharing your stuff as well. Because even in the last week on social media, we're building the manifesting course. I had Georgia Crawford and a couple of other influencers sharing my stuff, Sheila showing it as well. And I got 400 followers in the space of a few days on Instagram. So I really built my audience based on earning it from other people. So it's just a little model. You can pay for it, you can earn it, or you can own it. Is a really great way of doing it.
Well, that's what I was going to give another bit of advice there, because you are actually brilliant for this. It's leveraging the audience of others to build your own audience or to grow your own audience. And if you can do that, then that can be really powerful. So that might be like something you do. Again, you do appearing on other people's podcasts, other people's webinars. Maybe you're writing a guest article for them. You know, you're co-delivering courses like you're doing with Daniela. Maybe it's some of the media work, some TV, some radio appearances, that kind of thing. But when you're doing that, especially if it's a podcast, say, for example, you know, the host of that is going to share that content with their audience. You're going to share it with your audience. You're probably there's going to be overlapping followers. Some of your followers going to that person and vice versa. So that's just a really brilliant, powerful way to increase your audience by leveraging the audience of others.
Yeah, and even with myself and yourself, Brian, like what you call it, like I love you. I share the accountability habit, and it's always like I'm sharing myself and Brian Crook. That's on my newsletter every single week, so people are getting to know you. The amount of queries I've gotten from people finding out about me through you as well. So it's that accountability when you collaborate with other people. We've done courses together as well, so it's just really build your audience by collaborating with people, but collaborating with the right people. I think that's really crucial as well. The fit has to be right, and the energy has to align. I think that's important.
Exactly, collaborating with the right people. And if you're lucky enough to have the opportunity maybe to partner with other kind of complementary businesses, like I've done a couple of webinars with the guys at Great Place to Work, very much complementary. They're targeting HR, senior leaders, similar audience to me. I've done great work at former partners of mine at Irish Life Health. Obviously, they're targeting the well-being leaders, the HR leaders in companies too. So if you have opportunities to work with these organizations, like there's, you know, lots of mutual benefits that can come about.
Yeah, definitely. A great place to work is a great site to go to as well. I'm getting lots of feedback here, Brian. Can you hear that?
Just a tiny bit there towards the end, but nothing major. By the way, Keane Corbett.
Keane Corbett. Oh my God. I know Keane so well. I hope Keane doesn't see this. He's going to kill me. It was in my head before.
We'll tag him.
Crazy. Good shout with that, Brian. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, no worries. Getting you out of jail there again.
Cheers, man. Any final thoughts on building audiences?
No, that's like my approach, and I kind of stumbled on it initially, I think, luckily enough, but it's been the way I've built Workwell Ireland and Parkit is I approach it as in I'm building a community first, and then everything else comes after that. So build the community first, build the audience first. How do you do that is, depending on what your niche is, figure that out. But then and only then worry about the what it is you want to do, what you want to sell, because without the audience, I don't know who you're selling to. You're selling to the entire planet, and that's effectively nobody. So audience first. It's a long-term play. It doesn't happen overnight, but it's worth it in the end if you do it properly and if you're consistent with it.
That you just got in there ahead of me. That's what I was going to say. It's another trend of this podcast. I think this could even be called the consistency podcast, the accountability podcast, but it's about being consistent and consistently showing up. And what happens is then you consistently build our audience. And what I found happens over time, you can plateau for a while, and all of a sudden in the moment you're saying, oh my God, is this the end? Is this like the start? Is this as good as it gets? But then all of a sudden you get another bump. But it's consistently adding value, consistently creating content, consistently doing what you have to do, putting it out there, and over time you'll just see that growing. The trend will just keep that in the right direction, and you'll be fine.
Exactly.
Yeah. So will we finish up with the 3 things for next week?
Exactly. Yeah. What are you going to do? What are you going to get done now for next week?
Well, I'm going to say 20% of that grant again. That's in the cards. Yeah, I'm putting it back out there. Whether it happens or not, I'm under extra pressure, extra accountability for that this week. I'm also a brand ambassador, and Movember have asked me to be a brand ambassador for this Movember. So, yes, that's pretty cool. So I'm going to be advertising that for the next week. I'm going to try to get $2.5 grand fundraising up for that over the course of November. So I'm actually going to do a live event, something around men's mental health around that as well. And I'm going to be doing 60 kilometers and 60 burpees a day for the month of November, because I forget the stats on it. I think it's 60 men a month commit suicide every single month in Ireland. I forget the stats. So 60 is the number that we do. So 60 kilometers, and I only got a knee injury, so I'll have to suss that out. I'll have to go easy on that. But
you can do the half burpee. You step in and step out, as opposed to jumping.
Press ups, that's what I'll have to do if I have to do it. But yeah, so that's a big one, and so I'm going to be pushing that massively over the next week. So hopefully that'll be I'll get good traction on that by next week. And then movement. I want to get movement on my brand and my business project. So I'm creating a new business project around performance enhancement, enhancing change, and it's very much interlinked with my brand, and it's not that stagnating. I'm just putting pressure on myself. I'm being self-accountable for this week, putting pressure on myself to have some movement on this, some tangible movement on this. So that's me third goal for next week.
Brilliant. Yes. So class, we'll be seeing you sporting a Mo from next week on, will we?
No, it will be Mo, and that's just not happening. I get a ginger beard, so I believe I'll have a ginger Mo. So you can do moustache or movement. I'm gonna go for the movement.
Oh, I don't know. That's not much of an ambassador now, but we'll get you out to Parkit then. Come to a Parkit. We'll help you out with those burpees.
Definitely. I'll do that. What's your trade for this week?
Right stuff. So so a carry on from last week is R&R. I didn't get enough R&R, and I'm feeling a little bit run down, so I need to continue that into this weekend. Maybe a little bit this week. My daughter's off school, so doing some stuff in the mornings with her every single morning. So not kind of killing myself work-wise this week. R&R is in there, definitely over the weekend a bit more as well. So that's firmly on the radar for this week. I've got into the middle of next week or so, maybe till next Thursday, to do a final push for my course for the big relaunch that I did.
Excellent.
So I want to give that like a good bit of focus, proper attention, right kind of proper emails about it to support it and get them out there.
Yeah,
so that's what I'm doing. And then the final thing is I want to have a plan in place for my Parkit community leader training. So the insurance, which we got sorted this week, is ready to go. Now I need a training in place for the community leaders. There's 20 people going to do the program who can go on and then lead Parkit sessions in their local parks. And this is how Parkit is going to be sustainable. So I want to have like a plan done for that and pretty much be kicking that off by this time next week.
Yeah, excellent. Sounds good, man. Sounds good.
Brilliant. Listen, Brian, have a great week.
Yeah, you too, Brian, and I'll chat to you next week. And make sure you get that R&R in. Number one,
Looking forward
focus.
to it.
Chat
Yeah.
soon. Bye
Take
bye.
care.